Two TNA stars have quit the company. We're going to talk about that plus a variety of other news in today's video, so make sure you click subscribe. Okay, so we should probably talk about the two TNA stars who have quit the company because news like this, when it comes out, it's a pretty big concern. Obviously, with TNA, it's a growing company. They don't have the amount of money or resources like WWE or AEW. I think we're all very well aware of that, my friends. I know I'm aware of it. I know you guys are aware of it. So let's not act like it doesn't play a certain role with people's decisions when it comes to working for TNA. But actually, apparently, this story is different. We have now learned that Mance Warner and Steph DeLander have quit the company. But the reason for it apparently has nothing to do with money, which is why this is incredibly interesting. Now, Fightful Select has dropped this groundbreaking report today that Mance Warner and Steph DeLander have left the company because TNA doctors have reportedly not cleared Steph DeLander to wrestle. In that same report, though, Sean Ross Sapp and Fightful Select have reported that WWE doctors have cleared Steph DeLander. So it is kind of an infuriating situation for the two because TNA doctors will not clear her. And that's actually kind of shocking because WWE has always had this reputation for really being strict when it comes to wrestlers' clearances, especially with neck injuries or head injuries, things of that nature. If WWE doctors don't clear you, that's a really big deal. And we have seen people like Edge, for example, come back. We saw Paige and Saraya come back. But Steph DeLander's situation, apparently WWE's doctors are like, hey, this is fine. So the situation now becomes TNA doctors essentially saying, no, it is not. That makes it even more interesting. But the truth is, I think this sucks. I think Mance Warner has so much potential and he brings such a different vibe to the TNA product. And I know this is not apples to apples comparison, so please do not take it that way. But I think it is important to acknowledge the fact that Mance Warner, in a way, could have been the modern day Abyss for TNA. You know, for a while, Impact Wrestling had a character like PCO where he was willing to do like these crazy spots. And Mance Warner came in, and I thought he was kind of the replacement for that. And they don't really have these dark, cryptic characters in TNA anymore. But Mance Warner was like your all around reliable, hardcore guy, which is why it was so interesting to see that when he joined TNA, they didn't really push him or do anything with him. And I actually thought the pairing was great because Steph DeLander and Mance Warner, the chemistry there is incredible. So, for whatever reason, man, they just didn't have plans for them. That was pretty clear if you watch the show. And they were not willing to pass, the medical test for Steph DeLander. They didn't give her that clearance. Now they're gone from the company. Now they've decided to quit. That's crazy. That brings us to our next story. Apparently, WWE has a major shakeup for WrestleMania 42, one that I'm not actually fascinated with at all. I kind of made this clear throughout other content on the channel, but WWE reportedly wants Cody Rhodes going into WrestleMania as champion against Randy Orton. Now, in addition to that, WWE is probably likely going to have Cody defeat Drew McIntyre for the belt this Friday on SmackDown. Now, with that being said, we should also acknowledge the fact that WWE, obviously, they've wanted Cody versus Randy for a while, but the way they got there is kind of the thing that I have been critical of. Now, in this story, we have heard multiple reports. Ibu of Wrestle Purist came out and said Cody is expected to win. PW Insider pretty much verified that with their own report, and Fightful Select even chimed in claiming that they heard Cody versus Randy was the plan about a month ago. Now, of course, anything could happen. WWE could swerve us. Things can change. Who knows what's going to happen? We don't really know what to expect, but it is expected at some point Cody versus Randy will be made official. Now, with these last minute changes to WrestleMania, I've made it very clear. If you guys didn't watch that video, I'll put a card up here so you guys can click on it. But I have been very critical of the build for WrestleMania 42 this year. It's lacking excitement. It's not really my cup of tea. I feel like wrestling has been so good. I feel like the television shows have been so good. But the way that they're going about this, I feel, has been absolutely wrong. Now, what's actually even more interesting is that there was a report that dropped about some backstage news on when Randy and Cody were made aware of these plans. And basically, PW Insider stated that this was a direction Fightful then confirmed that this was the direction by also claiming that this was in the works for about a month, or these guys have at least known for about a month that the plans were changing. So it just makes me a little bit more curious as to how Drew McIntyre was made aware of the news, that sort of thing. I think realistically, the best sort of plan of action to move forward would be Cody, Drew, Randy, Jacob Fatu for WrestleMania 42. And let me be really clear, I don't mind Jacob and Drew having a singles match at WrestleMania. I think that's still a big time match. There's some talks of Drew McIntyre having to go film for a movie or a TV show after WrestleMania, which is fine. Like, that's cool. I just feel like Drew finally got the championship, and I understand why WWE did it. They wanted to draw bigger attendance and things of that nature for Elimination Chamber and for Royal Rumble. I get it. And I don't mind the title change, but I just think if you want Cody versus Randy, there is a better way to get there. And I just think maybe that's where WWE dropped the ball. I would actually like WWE to shock us all and just give the belt to Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania. That's just an opinion of mine that I think would be really cool. But you guys probably don't like that, right? Okay, we got to talk about some huge news surrounding Danhausen because apparently WWE executives are really, really happy right now. And I'm glad to see this. Honestly, if you've seen my clips on the channel, on social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, Facebook, I was very, very, very upset with the way that WWE debuted Danhausen. Not because the debut was bad, not because Danhausen looked bad. I thought the debut was good, but it was very anticlimactic to have Danhausen come out at Elimination Chamber, and all he really did was leave teeth for Michael Cole. What I would have liked to see was at least some sort of interaction, or maybe he curses somebody or something of that nature. Then on Monday Night Raw, we saw Danhausen actually curse Dominic Mysterio, and it led to him dropping the belt to Penta. Well, now Danhausen is actually one of the top merchandise sellers, and what's really dope is WWE officials are actually pleasantly surprised with his merchandise numbers, according to PW Insider. Also, in addition to that, Danhausen is expected to be at the WWE Performance Center this week and expected to be on Friday night's SmackDown. We don't have a specific brand for Danhausen, which is actually really dope. I guess internally, WWE hasn't figured it out, and they just kind of want to use them everywhere. Listen, if there's one thing I can truly say about WWE, like, they know how to do comedy characters. They're going to make a lot of money off Danhausen. I've been saying this for like 8 months now. We're starting to see that. And I'm happy about that. I think Danhausen is going to be incredible in WWE. And I'm glad that we immediately saw something on Monday Night Raw because, like I said, that debut had every right to be criticized. Not because of the way they presented him, but just because they didn't really have him do anything. And you got to understand, not a lot of people know who Danhausen is, and obviously the IWC does know who he is. But if there's one thing that WWE does extremely well, it is with comedy characters. And so I think WWE is going to do a great job here. I want to see what they do. I want to see how they do it. I want to see what they have planned for him on SmackDown. And one thing I really just want to throw out there into the world of social media, I would love to see Danhausen in a makeshift tag team. I want to see it. I want to see him in a makeshift tag team with a top star. And I know Randy Orton's pretty busy right now, but it would be really fun to see what that looks like. I know you guys are going to call me out on this, but some of the cool things about professional wrestling is when you get those comedy, like Team Hell No is a perfect example. Kane and Daniel Bryan, like, what a fun tag team that was. And I don't think that had any business being as good as it was, but it was phenomenal. Um, I would love to see something like that with Danhausen. I really would. And I think Danhausen, he's got it, man. He understands his comedy and he understands his timing. And I think the WWE universe will also understand that. So I'm glad to see that WWE officials are happy. I think everybody kind of understood the situation at hand with the debut. But immediately it was made up for it on Raw. Give it another month or so. I think everybody else will also be very happy with Danhausen in WWE. All right, guys, and for the final topic of today's video, we got to talk about the actual possibility of Bayley potentially leaving the company and going to AEW. Let me be very clear. There's no sort of update or report or anything that's come out that's even signified that this could be happening. But Bayley was on Busted Open Radio, and she was talking a little bit about her frustration and some of her displeasure with WWE booking going into WrestleMania. And obviously, as you guys know, Bailey last year at WrestleMania was pulled off of the show because of the Becky Lynch return and that sort of thing. Obviously, Bailey was being a team player, but that obviously impacted a lot. And Bailey is somebody who I feel like through time and time again, she doesn't really get the opportunity to be at the top of the women's division. Maybe the same way as some of the other women have been given that opportunity. And she just kind of talked about her anxiety about the stuff regarding WWE booking and going into WrestleMania. And you could just tell she's not really happy about her situation and her circumstance. And I think there's a couple things that really need to be talked about. I think one, if you really, really, really have to do the right thing, WWE knows that they should be putting her and Lyra Valkyria in a multi-women tag team match at WrestleMania. Like that's a solution right there. And if I were WWE, I would absolutely do that. But two, I would look at WWE and look at what they're doing with Bailey. And obviously, we can kind of make assumptions. We can speculate all we want. Nobody really knows how they feel other than Bailey. But if I am WWE and I know ahead of time that Bailey is not happy right now, I would do everything possible to ensure she is happy. Because just like Mercedes Monet, Bailey could very well go into AEW. And she would be treated like a very big deal in AEW. Do I necessarily want to see that? No. I don't. And in fact, I think WWE and Bailey should figure something out booking wise. Because I do think Bailey could be a WWE lifer and she would be incredibly beneficial working in NXT, working in the Performance Center, working with the future of the women's division. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. Obviously, nobody really knows what to expect here, but it is something that needs to be brought up because, again, Bailey is one of the best wrestlers in the company. And I think her character work is also very good. I don't think she has been given the opportunity in recent years to remind everybody why she is at the top of the card. Um, yeah, it is what it is, bro. It's a very unfortunate situation. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it pans out. I would like to see WWE do a little bit more here. And I think the best way to do that is a multi women's tag team match at the pay per view at WrestleMania 42. Nia Jax and Lash Legend have the belts. You got the Bella Twins, which they're not even doing anything. And then, of course, you have Lyra and Bailey. Let's see that evolve into something bigger and better. It's up to WWE. It's up to Triple H. I think they can figure it out, but if they don't, I wouldn't be shocked if we get at least one run with Bailey going to AEW. And a lot of times, people just want to work. People just want to wrestle. And when they're not being given that opportunity, keep in mind, WWE doesn't do house shows anymore. So when people aren't given that opportunity, it really is detrimental to them. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Ango Show.